According to the Nigerian police, almost 5 people have been killed in economic protests emerging across the country. Amnesty International says that this number is much higher. In a post on X, it claimed that 13 protesters were killed by the Nigerian police. These protests, which were triggered by an economic crisis, bad government policies, inflation, and a food crisis, began on August 1, 2024, in different cities across the country. The protesters are demanding immediate action on these issues. A large number of protesters are young activists and journalists, centered around Lagos, Abuja, and Kano. Protesters also pointed out the hypocrisy of President Tinubu's move to quell protests, noting that he had been involved in calls for revolution against President Goodluck Jonathan when the latter had been in power for similar reasons.
Trying to put ourselves together peacefully, and they come up with an attack again. And this is quite unfortunate, having been that the current president has led several protests. If he was killed in 2012 when he led subsidy protest against the Goodluck Jonathan administration, would he have become president?
The Take It Back, TIB, movement is one of the organizers of the anti-government protests throughout Nigeria. TIB was founded in 2018 by a political party named African Action Congress, AAC. The AAC calls itself an anti-colonial, environmental socialist, and African nationalist party aiming for the complete freedom of Nigerians through democratic struggle. The TIB movement has been continuously posting on its X account about the protests against the economic hardships and providing updates on the day-to-day situation in multiple cities of the country. This has helped mobilize other like-minded groups and the civil society in the protests. But the Nigerian police has resorted to violent tactics to stifle dissent.
They even used barbed wire to barricade us yesterday, and they still come over the barbed wire again to come and be shooting us with tear gas. So one of them just aimed my eye direct, tear gas.
Now me, I know the amount of these people, but I don't come past now. I see only the put tear gas, shoot gun, so I'm not pissed. There is one policeman when he throws something from my hand, within a jackknife or something, there's something took from my hand that I just see now.
In an interview with Al Jazeera, a resident of Borno State claimed that the economic hardships of the Tinubu era have forced women into exploitative industries, such as prostitution. Currently, Nigerians are facing the worst food inflation since 2023 due to the decreasing naira and limited agricultural output. According to the National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria, the cost of food increased by 40.87% in June 2024 compared to the same month last year. In some states, this is even higher, hovering near 44.18% in Kogi, 40.87% in Kwara, and 40.08% in Rivers State. It was lowest in states like Bauchi at 28.83%, Adamawa at 29.8%, and Kano at 30.08%. Other basic necessities are also quickly moving out of reach for most Nigerians. 1 liter of petrol now costs 1,300 naira, or 78 cents, a significant hike from last month's price of 580 naira, or 35 cents. Nigeria is one of the largest oil producers in the world, but the country does not have enough resources and capacity to refine oil for domestic use. Petrol prices are increasing in Nigeria because of deregulation of the petroleum sector. With the government removing subsidies to reduce the burden on its budget, oil price is now determined by market forces and global oil rates, and Nigerians are paying much steeper prices for petrol. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu first came into power in 2023, he unequivocally declared that the fuel subsidy would be removed, no matter the cost. Cutting the electricity subsidy has also directly affected students. Universities are the largest consumers of electricity in the country, with electricity rates skyrocketing. Some have either been unable to pay their bills and have been disconnected from the grid, while others have passed on this cost to the students in the form of higher school fees. This has placed an already struggling student population in dire straits. Top public universities with the highest budgets in the country, including the University of Nigeria, which has a budget of 6 billion naira, the University of Calabar with 5 billion naira, Ahmadu Bello University with 2 billion naira, Nandi Azikiwe University, Awka with 3 billion naira, and University of Benin with 2 billion naira, are all struggling to pay the monthly electricity bills. Nigeria's protests follow on the heels of protests in Kenya last month, where young people reacted to a controversial finance bill which increased taxes on items such as cooking oil, vehicle ownership, raw materials for construction, and hospitals. They demanded that the bill be rescinded, and the government bring an end to corruption, unemployment, inflation, police brutality. They also asked for President William Ruto to resign, mockingly calling him the tax collector. The situation escalated quickly, and 50 protesters were killed in the riots. After this rise in fatalities and increasing public anger, Ruto canceled the bill and stated that he would engage with the youth of the country. Some have suggested that the Kenyan success has given hope to the protesters in Nigeria. The Nigerian police have detained almost 700 people involved in attacks on state property and armed robbery, but human rights groups like Amnesty International have urged the police to release all protesters. Although this has not yet happened, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's unflinching stance on his economic policies seems to have mellowed. He made a speech earlier this week addressing the nation.
My dear Nigerians, especially our youth, I have heard you loud and clear. I understand the pain and the frustration that drive these protests, and I want to assure you that our government is committed to listening and addressing the concerns of our citizens.